Hi, folks. Joe Russo here. Just testing to make sure that everyone can hear me. Welcome to our session. So at this point, you can also chat or communicate via the chat. And what I'll do is I will also share a slide deck soon and just be able to allow you to connect. Okay, so let me just share my slide deck. All right, so we'll just give it a few more minutes. And in the meantime, you can have a look at the need to know before you get started. So we'll give it a few more minutes for others to join. And then what we'll do is we'll get started. Okay, just a reminder that we are going to get started shortly. And in the meantime, if you can please open up Google Chrome, log into our website, our e-learning platform. And at this point, if you have a login issue, I'm going to ask you to share that information with me in, actually, it's just the next slide in terms of the information that you could use to send information to me during the broadcast. In order to acquire a copy of this slide deck, all you have to do is click on the HTTP, rather, you can enter http:// all one word, capital letters, numbers at the end, TCDSB, VLE 101. Okay. Okay, we're going to give it to 3:05, and then we will begin. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, again, it's a pleasure being here with you online and offering that flexibility of being able to conduct some PD via a virtual experience. I'm going to be your host, facilitator, Joe Russo, this evening, or this early afternoon and this evening. If you want to join in again, it will be a repeat of the same experience from this afternoon. And again, it will differ based on the participants and based on the questions that are asked. And so at this point, I'm just going to go to the next slide. And what you'll notice here is that there's going to be 3 ways to communicate with me in terms of information sharing throughout the broadcast. But apparently, I can't seem to find the YouTube live chat. So YouTube, Google they're sort of adjusting the experience when it comes to Creator Studio through YouTube. So I probably didn't enable the chat. I'm not sure if you can see it. I can't see it on my end, and I've got a few devices opened up. So if the YouTube chat is not an option, you'll notice that on the Google slide deck that I'm sharing, there is a banner along the top of each of the slides. Although it does take you to a different website, what it does is it allows me to look at a back channel called Q&A history. And so with Q&A, I'll be able to see your questions, your comments, and rather than interrupting the flow, or rather than having you pause and wait for when there's a perfect time to share your question, the Q&A is the back channel, the ideal back channel, and I'll just pop in and have a look. And as I'm sharing information, I'll try and build in responses to the questions that you ask through Q&A. If Q&A is not your thing via the Google Slides website, then the other option, the third option, would be through Google Forms. So once you're on this Google slide deck, you'd be able to just click on the link, and then via the Google form, you'd be able to submit any questions, comments, ideas, really anything that comes to mind, because I want to make sure that if you're participating today, you're getting the information that you need, and that I further you along in your journey when it comes to becoming familiar with the virtual learning environment and blending your classroom, but also teaching online. Okay. So at this point, I would be able to see a whole bunch of people in the chat, and unfortunately, I don't seem to see the chat. At this point, can someone possibly through the Q&A URL just send me a message saying that you can hear me and everything is good and we can proceed? Just gonna wait a minute. Oh, there we go. I see the chat. Awesome. Okay, I can see the chat. Francis, hello, Francis. Hello, Steve, Frank, Marielle Murphy. Awesome. Okay, so thank you. So let's proceed. So whether you are someone who is starting out in e-learning, whether you are someone that is familiar, there's going to be something here. Hello, Rocco. There is going to be something here for everyone. And so we titled the session Exploring the Virtual Learning Environment, Teaching Online, Blending Your Class. And Jessica Schuessler, if you haven't met her before, she is from D2L, the company for which we use their product, which is called Brightspace, but I'll clarify all of that naming of the service and the ministry licensing. And Jessica's been a fantastic support. We worked on this presentation together, as has the education officer, Anita Drossis. And what we're doing here is we're trying to give you a snapshot into resources that are available to enable you to engage in some self-directed learning when it comes to becoming familiar with or familiarized with the virtual learning environment. But we're also going to explain some of the basics. We'll do some live demonstrations of the different tools. And ultimately, we want to give you a sense of what's involved when you are incorporating a platform where there is teaching and learning that can happen over that platform. Okay, so from a teacher perspective, from a student perspective, you know, there's lots of information, but we're going to try to, you know, share the information slowly, and we're going to try to share the information in sort of big ideas. And we have 3 big ideas that we're going to highlight in just a minute. So, hello, Maria. So we're going to move on, and really, let's start with the basics. So Desire to Learn is the company. Desire to Learn is the company that we license the product from. And the product is called Brightspace. The ministry pays for a license, and all Ontario school boards can, again, use this service. So what the ministry has done is they've named Brightspace to be the virtual learning environment. So the ministry names Brightspace the virtual learning environment because the virtual learning environment reflects the fact that Brightspace is more than just Brightspace. It is a whole bunch of other tools that are integrated as well. And yeah, so there we have it. You've got the naming of each of the stakeholders and platforms that are involved. I just want to pause and acknowledge that Jessica has joined us virtually. Hi, Jessica. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everyone.
All right, so moving along, what is the VLE? Again, VLE stands for Virtual Learning Environment. So the VLE is just that. It is a virtual environment whereby teachers and students come together. And what does it offer? It offers this virtual space for your classroom, whether it be the face-to-face and you're blending your class, or whether it be a fully online course. So many different tools. You've got tools such as the rubrics tools, assignments, portfolio tool, discussions, grades, ministry courses, activity feeds. So just to explain that, if you're looking at rubrics, assignments, portfolio, discussions, grades, and the activity feed, those are all functions that a teacher has at their disposal, as do students, in terms of interacting and submitting and participating in these forums. But also when it comes to the ministry content, the ministry is the content that ministry provides and curates the content and provides it through the virtual learning environment to all Ontario school boards. Okay? And in case you're wondering, the content is created by Ontario certified teachers. Okay, just checking the Q&A here. No Q&A. All right. Looking at the live chat. It's all good. There we go. Hello, Ms. Escobar. All right. Why use the VLE? Well, you know, the TCDSB supports the VLE. The ministry supports the VLE. It's secure. It's private. We're not concerned about information and privacy. We are looking at a current landscape of so many different tools. And the reality of the matter is that we have an agreement in place. The ministry has done their due diligence. And so why not explore the use of the VLE, because you won't be disappointed. There's a huge array of different tools. Again, there's no need for an app, because when you're actually on the website of tcdsb.elearningontario.ca, you'll notice that whether you're on an iPhone or a Samsung or an Android device or a tablet or a laptop or a desktop, what happens is the responsive design of the virtual learning environment tries to provide that seamless, consistent experience on all of these devices that we mentioned. And so that's a big kudos to D2L for doing that and providing that equity piece where it doesn't matter what device you're on, you still have a wonderful experience while you're in the platform. Okay, so and you'll notice that some of these slides and the themes to the slides change. because we've brought together the what we thought were the most impactful slides from various presentations, and Jessica shared this slide and a few others, and you'll notice that she's also provided links to materials and resources that D2L has so nicely curated for us. Yeah, so at this point, Jessica, I can give you the floor if you want to introduce yourself, and then we can continue from there.
Sure, that sounds good. I wasn't sure if everyone could hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, perfect. I haven't used Google Hangouts before, so this is new for me. So hello, everyone. My name is Jessica, and I'm a VLE consultant with D2L, which basically means that I work with multiple school boards across the province, just helping them understand that they, of course, have access to the virtual learning environment and learning how to use it and take advantage of all the amazing tools within the platform itself, and then, of course, all the ministry content that comes along with it. Joe, if you want to go to the next slide. I can't remember what we've got up next. Perfect. So I think Joe's going to kind of be demoing in an environment to show you how some things work, but I have a list here of kind of some things that you might want to explore if you're brand new to the VLE and you just are looking to get started and you don't really know where to start. The VLE, like Joe said, has a huge array of tools, and sometimes it can be hard to know with so many tools, what should I start with, or what are some little things I can do just to sort of get my course ready for my students to use and be a place that I want to come and take advantage of. And so the first thing that I always mention is changing the banner image and text. And Joe, do you have an environment that you can swap to just to show what I mean by the banner image and text?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not going to go through all these, but I just want to call out a couple of these on the list.
For sure. Just give me one sec. Okay, we're on our homepage. Can you see the homepage, folks?
I can see it.
Okay.
So
everyone else, I'm just going to do a check. Can everyone see? Because with Hangouts, usually whoever's speaking defaults as the screen display. So I have selected to display my screen as you speak. So just confirming, yep, they can see the homepage. Awesome. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. And then do we want to go into our sandbox course?
Sure. Okay, just
that list somewhere.
Find it. There it is. So we're going in as a DELC, Jess. So if you need me to switch over to a teacher, I can do that.
Okay, it should be okay for now, just for the things that I'm going to show.
Okay.
So I'm in a sandbox course, which is the term we use for just a place that you can play and build in, much like a sandbox. So it's just a play course. And so the banner that I'm referring to is where you see "Welcome to Ms. Schistler's class, Joe." So where that white text is going across that image with the students with all those bags. That's one of the easiest and quickest ways to personalize your course, because it is, of course, the first thing that your students the first thing that your students see when they come into your course. And it's nice to provide a nice welcoming message and a welcoming image to build community, especially if you are using a custom image. So if you roll your mouse over the banner, you'll notice these 3 dots appear at the top right-hand corner.
Okay.
And
I'm going to interrupt you, Jess, because like I said, when that's what I thought. When someone's speaking, it takes over the screen. So did you want to log in and go into the sandbox course?
Oh, okay.
And then
sure.
you can share your screen.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No problem. TSB.
Thank you for the feedback, folks.
TC. All right, it'll just take me a second here to get logged in and find the right course.
No problem. In the meantime, has anyone had any login issues? Is everyone able to log in? Because if that is the case, again, you can send me an email right now, or you can use the Google form to share some information. It's, again, going to be private, because no one's going to see that information and that request. And while the broadcast is happening, I can try to figure out how to fix your login, because we did have a couple of login fixes last night at our face-to-face session. So please let me know. All good.
All right, so I think I shared my screen. Can everyone see the TCDSB homepage right now?
Yeah, we can see it.
Perfect. All right, so I just want to call out, actually, and I'm going to use this little tool that helps me kind of highlight where my pointer is for people watching on screen. So let me just open that up as well. There we go. All right. So before I jump back into that course, though, I want to call out that when you first arrive at the homepage, every single user is going to land here. Joe, I don't think you explained this at the beginning because I came in a couple minutes late. But I just wanted to, so hopefully I'm not repeating myself, but I just wanted to mention, perfect. I just wanted to mention kind of the two ways that you can get into a course. So down here, there's this My Courses widget. And there's this, I call it the waffle, or Joe says the matrix, or 9 squares, whatever you want to call it. These two places is where you can find courses that are assigned to you or courses that you have access to. So if I click here, you might see a really, really long list if you've been teaching with TCDSB for a while, or you might see a short list. But the easiest way to find your course is just to, for this year, is to search 1819, and then you'll find your course. Joe can speak to that in a little bit more detail a little later, but I just wanted to show you kind of the ways to get into your courses. And then if you do have trouble finding your courses for this year, if you have questions around that, Joe can speak to that shortly after this. So I'll go into this demo course, which is the VLE Sandbox. And so I was talking about this banner area. And so if I hover over this 3 dots, I can change the image here. And you see it pulls up this list of all sorts of different images. And you can search for any image you want using keywords. There's tons. It's a massive database of images. And so if it's a science course, search science. If it's math, search math. Lots of cool images. Or of course, you can always upload your own right here, which is again a great way if you have a photo of like your class or something, you can upload an image of the class. And then the other thing I like to call out is this banner text here. So by default, this banner text is going to match the name of your course. And I changed this yesterday at the session we were at last night. So it's different now, but by default, it'll be the same. And if you hover over the 3 dots and customize the banner text, you can switch it to custom and put your own custom message in there. And you'll notice in mine, if I hit cancel, you notice that it says, welcome to Ms. Schissler's class, Jessica. And that's because I'm logged in as Jessica. And I've used a replace string here to grab the name of whoever's logged in and replace it here. And it's a really fun way to add personalization to your course and something that you can do in lots of different tools in the learning environment. So, in an assignment or something, you could say, hey, Joe, here's your assignment, and call the person out by name. And so if I go show you what that looks like, if I go back to customize banner text, right here, it's a curly little bracket and then first name, all one word, and then you close your curly brackets. And that code is gonna replace the first name with the student's name. And so curly bracket, first name, all one word, and then close curly bracket. And again, you can use that in the news widget, which you can see, hello, Jessica. Obviously that's using a replace string as well. And so the question I inevitably get when I show this is, are there other replace strings we can use? And there are, last name works. There's replace strings for the course name, username, all sorts of replace strings. So if you just go to our documentation.brightspace.com and you search for replace strings, we've got a whole list of replace strings down here. So org unit ID, username, these all work. And so I'll pop that link in the chat if I can figure out how to do that. I think I can. There we go. And so that's kind of the first thing that I always recommend. And then in that list, so I have in those links, actually I'll stop my share and I'll let Joe show that PowerPoint again.
Yeah, I just wanted to, because right away Jess always has the intention to help out and get people going, and really it doesn't take very much to highlight all the great little touches and functionality within the VLE. that you can use to build community, that you can use to focus on assessment and evaluation. And definitely not least in terms of order of priority here, communicating and engagement, student engagement. So I'm just going to do a quick check. Can everyone see my slide right now? Okay, so these are the big ideas that we were talking about. And so Jess already touched upon pretty much 2 out of the 3 already, with something as simple as community building and, something as simple as including some of those curly brackets and the moment that a student logs in and is on the homepage of your course, they get to see their name. Like, I don't know, that for me is a big deal. Something subtle, but really personalizes the experience. And so that's a great tip. So again, going forward, because there is no perfect way to go through these slides, just like when you're in a classroom, there's no perfect lesson. So as you come forward with questions and ideas and or, what do I do with this and so on and so forth, can this be used this way? We will go with the flow because learning is not linear, in my opinion. So these are the 3 big umbrellas or big ideas that we wanted to connect back to. And how can we do that? We already started, so I'm going to go here and then we're going to go back to other areas and through the various demos that we're going to complete, Jessica and I. And again, if we wanted to, we can look at the personalization of the banner text and also that engaging image, the activity feed and news feed, your primary way of communicating information, announcements, and pretty much a one-stop shop place to keep kids really focused on what's going on within your course. Discussions are fantastic. Can't get really anything like this anywhere else, like in Google Classroom. Discussions are a separate part of your course, separate space within your course. We're going to look at, you can cover anything in discussions, curriculum, study prep. You can just have kids lounge around and talk about their interests and hobbies, and just an amazing tool, amazing functionality available to everyone. The best part is that, I know face-to-face is definitely important, but the convenience of having the discussion online, everything is recorded. But we have to be mindful of what we're sharing, how we're sharing it, and become even better communicators. The calendar tool, oh man, what would I do without a calendar? So I only see that calendars are going to become even more important in the future on all the devices that we're going to carry around. So the calendar tool and how it's connected to setting up an assignment and a submission folder, and just amazing stuff. It's all integrated. Assessment and evaluation, we're going to highlight the assignments folder. We're going to highlight the new annotations tool. We're going to highlight Turnitin for originality check. Again, I want to stick to just the names for now, or the subcategories, because I can talk about them forever. And then we're going to focus on communication engagement via the email account that everyone has as generated, associated with your account within the virtual learning environment. There's instant message functionality, capability. You can set up notifications. We haven't covered intelligent agents, so there's a little bit of exploration there for the power users / those that are a bit geeky when it comes to using the virtual learning environment. So there's no prescribed layout here. We wanted to give you a snapshot of what we want to cover, but really we're going to bounce around. And the best part about going with the flow is that you can learn at your own pace. We talked about self-directed learning at the beginning of this broadcast. Well, here's your chance. So as soon as you log in to the learning environment, you'll be able to select the on-demand professional learning icon along the top navigation bar, top of the page. And once you're there, I think it's the 3rd course listed from the top, the VLE 101, created by none other than Roseanne, and I believe Jessica was part of that as well. And they were also part of Loyal, Leaders of Your Own Learning in February. They really listened to the needs that we had as an organization for just someone to put together, tutorials and some documentation so that people can review things at their own pace. And really the beauty here is that I really wanted to dispel the notion that you need to be, certified to teach online. You have to be certified as a teacher. You have to have qualifications. But, I think the VLE is something that anyone can explore as a teacher. And I think that this self-paced set of modules and content will definitely give you not just the confidence, but a base level and possibly more of that skill and familiarity so that you can blend your class, but also teach online. Okay, so just click, you can, if you're not familiar with the whole process of self-enrolling, I can show you very quickly, or you can click on the word here on this slide, and it'll take you to another Google slide deck that will walk you through the process of self-registration. So if anything, Jessica, I think I may just show everyone how to self-register, because we're hoping that you leave with not just the slide deck, but access to the course so that you can continue your learning. But also we're hoping for a couple of questions that you can respond in terms of feedback, because ultimately I got some really good feedback from a teacher as they registered for this course, registered to participate today. And what they said was, I was just hoping that we could maybe get a certificate for participating. And I think that's great. It's a snapshot in time. You did commit the time. And so all we're asking in exchange is we'd love for you to provide some feedback so we can make these sessions even better going forward. Okay? So like I said, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to demonstrate the self-enrolling within the virtual learning environment. So just bear with me here. And what I'll do is I'll log in using a different account. And we'll go from there. Let's see if this one works. Okay, so I'm logged in as a teacher. I'm simulating the experience of everyone that's on the session right now. And all I'm inviting you to consider is right over here to select the on-demand professional learning icon. So the red icon with the blue text rather. See if I can stretch out my page. There it is. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to go in, selected the icon, another page opens up, and I'm going to do a little bit of shameless self-promotion here. This is a page that we proudly curate centrally. It's a space that I help curate, but I don't always, organize the content in the sense that I don't put it together all the time. But something like Digital Literacy Week that's happening next week, we're hoping to collect a whole bunch of course turnkey resources that staff can use, and there's also some discussion forums that people can participate in. We also have a course that you can enroll in so that you have access to all the resources that were shared as a result of the 21C Camp presentations. Okay, and there you have it. The third course is the course that I'm inviting you to register in right now. So it is called VLE 101. And all you're doing is you're going to select here. And then you're going to select register, submit, and then finish. That's it. Okay, and then once you do that, I'm going to save this step because I'm going to use this same account to demonstrate this in the evening session. So once you hit finish, you'll notice along the top, there'll be a blue link that invites you to click on the link to go straight into the course. And that's it. So once you go straight into the course, what you're going to notice, I'm just going to get out of here. Okay, what you're going to notice, I'm just going to log out. Is you'll see a whole bunch of courses in your menu, and if you want to find the course that you just registered for, I'll show you how to find it. I just had to switch accounts. So what you're going to do is, in order to find this course, you have two options. Number one, the My Courses widget that's right in front of you here. You'll notice that I have the VLE Sandbox course. That's the one I'm in right now. But there's also the VLE 101, and I can't find it here, which means I didn't pin it up. So let's go, since I don't see it there. Where else can I find courses? Right up here, the 3x3 waffle, if you want to call it, grid. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to shrink the screen here. Okay. And I'm shrinking the screen. You'll notice that there's quite a few courses here. And so what you're going to do is you're going to look for VLE 101. And apparently I don't have it. Okay, awesome. So I should have finished the process. So there it is. Yes, I thought I did. Okay. So if you have a whole bunch of courses and you can't find this course, just remember, like there's the keywords, right, that you can search for. And right now, because I don't have a lot of courses, there's no field that allows me to enter in some text so that I can search for the course. But if you've been around a while and you've had a timetable, a teaching timetable, a teacher timetable for a while, then all the courses that you've been teaching have a course shell that's been created. So in order to search for the course, just enter some keywords like VLE 101, and then you'll notice it. And then what you can do to keep it at the top of your list is just to pin it down, select the pin. Okay? While I'm here, if you're looking for your courses for every semester, all you have to do, or if you're looking for your courses for the year, all you have to do is type in 4 numbers. And those 4 numbers match the years in which we're in, the school year. So for example, this year, if you wanted to find your courses for this school year that's about to end in June, you would have just searched by 1819. If you're looking for courses come September, then just search by or search with 1920. That's it. Okay, so we're going to go into the VLE 101, and I just want to do a quick highlight of where the survey is for the feedback. And then, Jas, if you wanted to continue any demonstration of any tool, you know, I'll turn it over to you. But I'll just quickly highlight that once you're in the VLE 101 course, Roseanne did a fantastic job of making sure that there's something here for everyone. I'm a first-time user who needs to start from the beginning. Or I want to blend. So there's something there because you're not teaching online, but you're blending your course. I want to teach online. Just click on that blue link here. It'll take you to content specific to that need. And I'm a bit geeky. I'm familiar with the VLE. Take me to the next level potentially. You know, there it is. Okay. So other than that, I just wanted to show you, as you scroll up, you'll notice that there's a feedback and questions. It says from May 22nd, but we're going to use the same survey for this evening and this afternoon. Okay. What happens here is, because I don't really have any idea who participates, but if you do, you know, provide feedback, then it'll have your name there. And then following the broadcast, as soon as I have a minute, I will follow up by sending everyone a certificate identifying that you've participated and that you've enrolled in VLE 101. Okay, so we indirectly here used the news feed, and we also used the activity feed, and we also started understanding the importance of an awesome homepage. So Jessica, I'm going to turn it over to you, and then you can display your screen. And if you want to walk us through some tools.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. Let me pull up first the PowerPoint because I want to make sure I get through everything that was on that first slide. Here we go. And I'll hit the screen share. This one.
It's going to take
All right.
the Q&A as well.
Perfect.
How do you customize? So Frank's got a question. I'm just going to mention it to you so that
Sure.
you can build it into what you're doing. Frank's got a question. How do you customize pages with the color and design of the page for your course? How do you customize pages with the color and design of the page for your course?
So I'm not sure, he could be talking about two different things there.
Okay.
So I'll
Frank,
attempt.
because Frank works with me centrally. So Frank, if we can't take care of that need right now, you can come and see me this week or Friday or next week, and then we'll try to understand what your question is or the need is in terms of your setup. Because Frank has taught online, and I want to make sure that he can explore the functionality, the additional functionality that keeps the VLE just continues to become more robust. So let's see if we can meet Frank's need.
Great. So can you see the slide that I'm presenting, some things you may want to do to get started?
Yep.
Perfect. So the first thing I spoke to you was that change the banner image and text, and I always say that one first just because it's one of my most favorite ways to really easily and quickly add some personalization to your course. And then many of these are linked. So you see right here, add the banner image and the text. Those are linked to videos or documentation that explains how to do that. So if you missed the demo or you forgot how to do it, you can always go back to these links and check out how to do that with a step-by-step guide. The next one is customize your nav bar. And that one I would actually recommend once you've actually had some time to explore the VLE a little bit and get to know which tools you like. So if I go back to this page, the nav bar is this area here. So this bar up at the top with all of these different links that you can click on to access different areas of your course. So they're essentially shortcuts to tools. And so every time you get a new course, it gets given the default nav bar, which is what we have here. And then you always have the option to customize it if the tools that we've put on the default nav bar aren't the tools that you necessarily want to use. We've kind of made our best guess at the ones that we think would get the most use. But if you have tools that you use for specific use cases, you can customize your nav bar. So if you're curious, well, okay, if these aren't all the tools, how do I see the list of all the tools that are available to me if these aren't all of them? And the answer is under Course Admin. And so if you click on Course Admin, that's going to take you into a page that shows you a list of all the different tools available to you inside of your course. And so if you're in a course and you clicked on that list and it looks a little different, it could be that you're sorting by category instead of name. So you see right here, if I click on category, it'll divide it up into categories, or you can sort by name and then it's in alphabetical order. So I'm going to keep it sorted by name, and you can see here, there's some things on here. This is a big long list, some tools on here that aren't on the nav bar. So what I'd recommend is that you kind of take some time exploring the nav bar first and looking at some of the tools in there, like assignments, quizzes, grades, rubrics, some of these communication tools around class lists, making groups, discussions, announcements, and checking those ones out first. And then if you dive a little deeper and you find that, hey, you know what, I actually want to use awards a lot in my course and I would benefit from having a shortcut on my nav bar, then you can go ahead and customize your nav bar. I'm going to jump back to the homepage of the course. And just by the way, anytime you click on the course name, that's going to take you back to your homepage, that page with the banner.
Thanks for pointing that out, Jessica. It's such a very not obvious but obvious thing. Thank you.
No problem. And so if I did want to change my nav bar, it's the same as if I was changing my banner. I just hover over it, click on the three dots, and then customize this nav bar. And you'll get this little pop-up that's saying, hey, this nav bar is shared. You can't make changes to it. And that's because this is the default nav bar. This is the nav bar that everybody uses. And so the system's just telling you, you can't change this one, but I'd be happy to make you a copy that you can go ahead and change. And so you can say, yep, okay, make me a copy. And then it's making a copy in the back end. And you see here, the new name is the course default nav bar, but a copy. You can rename the nav bar if you want, but there's really no purpose to that. It's really just looking at the links that are on it. So right down here, you've got the add links. So if I click on this, I can go ahead and add Any of those course tools that you saw in course admin should be in this list, and then some. Actually, TCDSB has some customized ones that they've obviously added as well, so you might find some real treats in here of tools that you use. I know there's like EduGains, Pixton, Gizmos. So those are basically just quick links to those tools. So if they're tools that you use a lot and it would be useful for you to have a really quick link to that in your nav bar, then you can go ahead and add them. So you can go through and you just check off the ones you want to add, click add, and then they pop up here. And then you can go ahead and drag and drop and change the order. And that's it. So that's the nav bar. And like I said, I did put this in the slide, some things you want to do to get started, but I might actually recommend saving that one until you've kind of played around a little bit. The other three tools, so content, assignment, and portfolio, maybe I'll pause there actually and see, Joe, is there anything in the Q&A, or did you want me to kind of go through some of these slightly bigger pieces like content, assignments, and portfolio?
Okay, so I think that we learned from, or I've learned from all the other sessions that I've participated in and facilitated, everyone really wants to become familiar with the importing of the content process.
Yes.
So if you don't mind,
Turn it over to you for that.
I think I'll take a stab at it online because this will be the first time we actually do this online. So here we go.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, so in terms of importing content, all right, so you're all comfortable wherever you are. You may want to, jot down with a sticky note or something the whole process, and it's just a few steps, and it's a couple of tips along the way, so that once you start the process, that you don't stumble because there's one step that you've got to sort of remember what you did. So what I'm going to do here is I'm here in this account as a teacher. So I'm going to start out on the home page. We're going to start out at the home page. 347. Let's see how long this takes. Okay, so I'm on the home page. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out where is the empty course that I want to import the content into. Okay, so for you guys on the broadcast, if there's a math course this semester, if there is a whatever it is, you're going to use the advice I gave you. You're going to go to the select a course waffle, and if you can search for it, you type in 1819, see what comes up, and then you decide which course it is. So if you have 3 sections of MDM for you, you have to know which one you want to set up, and then you go from there. Okay, so let's pretend that I want to use, do I have the sandbox here? Yes. So I've got the sandbox course, this one right here. This is the course that I want to work with, okay? Empty course generated to match your teacher timetable. This is it. So watch what I do here. Just gonna right click. I'm going to open up a new tab. We cool? Awesome. So we're gonna now go back to the home page. Let me just see what this looks like here. Okay, so we're now gonna go back to the home page. You'll notice that I've got the extra tab right up there. If I turn to it, you'll notice that's the course that is completely empty, but it does have my students, okay? So I'm going back to the home page. There's an icon that's called Ministry and TCDSB Content, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that icon. Okay, so it's going to take me to what we call the self-registration page. Okay, this is separate from how we self-registered to put ourselves into a course and participate like a student. That's different. This is the spot where you go so that you can enroll in the course so that you have permissions to copy the course. Okay? So you can easily just scroll and try to find your course, or just press Control F. And if I'm looking for, MBF 3C, MBF, there it is. You'll notice that as soon as I put on the search, it goes right to where the course is listed. Okay? Okay. The last piece of advice that I'll give you here is that you may notice that there would be listed 2 versions of the MBF course. One of them listed as Persistent X, and the other might have a date included in the title. The distinction there is that the one course that has a date in the title, so something like, let me just scroll up here. So something like Aquaverse or the Media Arts, you'll notice that there's an actual date in the title. So those are more recent courses, okay? So a reminder here that curriculum changes happen all the time. So you're gonna have to be aware once you see the content and you've imported it, what other parts of the curriculum you're gonna have to supplement that are not included. But if you decide, or if you search and you'll notice you're using something like 2018, 2019, or since the last curriculum change of that subject, then you're good to go. Okay, you don't have to supplement anything. The curriculum is up to date. Anyhow, so you'll notice that there's links here that are black, and there's links that are blue. So the ones that are blue mean that you still can self-register and have access to them. The ones that are black as text means that you've already registered into them. Okay, so they're already part of your profile when you're looking at your course list. So let's say, for example, that the course that I want to import is My Digital Values. This one right here, okay? Or Student Orientation Learning Online. I'm going to do that one, okay? So here is where I lose everyone. So once I've decided which course that I want, the first step is to highlight the title on the left-hand side, so the first column. So I'm going to highlight the title of this course. Right-click, copy. So now I've copied the title. I'm not going to explain why, but you'll see why it's going to help you later on in a couple of steps, okay? So I've highlighted the title. Next step, click on the link so that you can register to have access to copy this course. Here we go. Press the link. Look familiar to you? You just did that when you registered into the VLE 101. Okay, we're going to now go register, submit, finish. Okay, but please refuse the temptation of selecting go to course offering, because if you go there, there's nothing that you're going to see, because it is the master course shell and it has only given you permission to copy it so that you can see it, but not to actually see the master course shell and its content. Okay, there's no way of stopping you from editing a course if you can see it. That's the problem, right? Okay, regardless, you finish the process. You're now at the stage where you go to the empty course that has your students and it matches your timetable, or it's a course that matches it's a course that is on your timetable for the current school year. Okay, so let's pretend this is the course that I need. The next step is to go to course admin, which is right up here. Okay, course admin. Then we're going to go to import, export, copy components. Okay, once you've clicked on import, export, the next and final step before you paste the title of the course, all you have to select is search for offering. There it is. Now, because I have multiple devices, I noticed that you cannot see the search for offering window that opens up. So just give me a second and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, I'm going to go back to stop sharing. And there you go, hello. We're going to go back to sharing our screen, my screen, but I want to share the window that popped up and ended up appearing as a separate window as a result of pressing the select search for a course. Okay, so here it is. You see it now. I'm going to Control V. I'm going to paste the title of the course that I want to import. And then I select to search. Oh, I'm searching and I don't see it. Really? I'm surprised. Okay, just one second. So in the meantime, before I, try to troubleshoot here.
Did you already enroll if you already enrolled yourself in that course, it won't pop up, just by the way.
Probably because I didn't hit done. Here we go. There we go. Done. Okay, let's try it again. Jessica, the phone a friend. Here we go. No, I did put myself in that course. Okay, I will go back, but in the meantime, I just want to move you along. What would happen here, as long as you registered and you did things properly, you would notice that the course would show up. There would be a bullet here that you would just select the course and then add selected, and then the final button would be copy all components. And then you're done. You're just going to wait for the check mark to appear, which means all of the content has been imported, and then you're done. So I'm going to give you a minute to reflect on all of the steps while I troubleshoot and actually finish demonstrating the process, okay? So I'm just going to pause. Okay, just give me a minute. I want to make sure that I'm in the same account. Yeah, myself registered. So at this point, folks, just reflect on all the different steps. And if there's anything that you're uncertain of, great time to ask a question. So this might be a good pause, good mistake. So where am I here? Yeah, see, it shows that I've registered. Let's try another one. What I'll do is I will do Digital Literacy Day. No, let's pick I'm a math guy. Here we go. Let's do math. Okay, so I'm going to self-register into this math course. Submit, finish, done. That was a creepy done. Okay, so next we go back to the course that is empty. We're going to select to search, and again, you're going to not see the window. So let me switch. Okay, let me just finish switching here. Hopefully my clicks are not too loud. Okay, so you should see the search for course offering. Control V, the title of the course. I'm going to search, and there it is. Woohoo! Okay, so I select the button here. I'm going to select Add Selected. Okay, not sure what happened. It pushed me back to the other window. Sorry. Let me go back. Right, so we're back at that point where we're importing and exporting. it recognized the course. You'll notice that it says course to copy here, right? It's all done. Last step, copy all components. Done. Here we go. I don't know how strong the Wi-Fi is here, but you're literally just waiting for a green check mark to appear, indicating that the process is complete. Okay, Jessica, 13 minutes. Ouch. Okay, so while this imports, Jessica, do you want to leverage the next step when it comes to, I don't know, the activity feed or news feed or whatever
Sure.
you think is a nice segue, because I think people need a break from clicking and pointing. So
Sure thing.
actually, I lied. One more thing I want to show, Jess, selfishly here, because it's
Yeah.
connected to content. You'll notice that someone just pointed out that, what about if I don't want to import the course, I want to see it first, or what about if it's not available on the list? Great, great, great question. So as the content is importing, I went back to the home page here, the first page you see when you log in, and I'm going to invite you to scroll all the way to the bottom, and you'll notice that there is a widget that is called Course Previewer. Okay, and so if you want to see what the courses look like and get a little flavor, a little taste of what the content looks like and the experience, then just go in and have a look. So I selected Catholic courses, and the page that I land on is a nice summary of all the curriculum. So let's say, for example, I want to go into math. So I'll click math. And here's all your courses. You'll notice that the ministry has dated them and they're still in circulation. So to answer your question, Joyce, if you come here and you'll notice that there are courses like the Mathematics for Everyday Life 2017, and you'll notice that it's listed, which means that the ministry has finished curating it and published it. Then if you go back to the course page where we self-register within the TCDSB page, and it's not there, just send me an email and then I'll make it available within 24 hours. Okay? So that's it. And literally, I just don't want to throw off the process, but you click on a course and then you're able to go into maybe 1 or 2 units, and it gives you a sense of what the curriculum is and the experience. Okay? Okay, I think I'm going to stop there. Jess, over to you.
All right, thank you. So I'd like to kind of continue down my theme of showing you some of the awesome things that you can find on the homepage, because that's of course the first place that you land and the first place your students are going to land when they come into the learning environment or when they click on your course. Let me share my screen here. Here we go. All right. So the other things I had on that list in this slide deck, and by the way, there's lots of information in the speaker's notes down below as well, so check those out. But the next thing I had in my list is add some content, create an assignment, and try out portfolio. Those are kind of 3 core tools that I think are really, really useful, really, and can span across almost all grades. Content maybe would be a little bit more for if you're in the higher grades. Content is going to be for you're going to make it available to your students to consult, whereas in like a kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, maybe your content is more like your teacher binder almost, so that place where you're storing and organizing all of your material. And it's worth noting that if you're a Google Drive user, you don't need to download all of your stuff and bring it all into D2L or into the VLE. We do have a Google Drive integration, so if you are looking at, I just want to organize my content in the VLE but keep it in Google Drive, you can absolutely do that. But let me pop over to the home page here and just call out some things. So by default, the homepage kind of works the same as the nav bar in that you get a default homepage, which is comprised of widgets. So this news widget, calendar widget, update widget, and then down below the news widget, there's an activity feed widget. Those are all on there by default, and you're able to modify this. Again, that's a little bit more of an advanced workflow though, so I would recommend just sticking with the default for now, and then as you kind of become more familiar with it, you can explore other widgets that are available. And if you get really advanced, you can actually create your own widgets, which is really cool because you can integrate Google Slide presentations that kind of flip through the slideshow automatically. You can do a teacher profile widget, videos. There's people will do kind of words of the week or theme of the week or something and post videos in a specific widget. There's really a ton of different possibilities and customizable options with your homepage. But as I said, we're going to kind of explore some of the things that are here on the default. And so I'm going to skip down to activity feed, and I actually kind of want to compare these two widgets. So this widget's called activity feed, and this widget is called news, and they have similar overlapping functionalities, but some pretty key differences. And so it's kind of up to you. You can use them both if you want, or you can choose one over the other. It's kind of, they both have, the core functionality is to get a message out to your students. And so both of them can do that, but then it's kind of in all the little details in how they differ. So I'll start by talking about activity feed, because we find that activity feed is a little bit easier for newer users to get started. So if you are a newer user, I might recommend starting with activity feed and then kind of advancing to the news feed if you want. So activity feed, you just click on create a post here, and this is basically where you're going to share some sort of announcement with your students. So maybe don't forget to bring your library books tomorrow. Some sort of reminder. Then you see got the checkbox to allow comments, and there's lots of different options for attaching web links. So if you want to upload a file, maybe you're working on something in class and you want to get that file out to the students really quickly, and it doesn't need to be in your content and actually organized into a specific unit. I could upload a file, put a link to, say if I'm saying, don't forget to complete the assignment, then I could link to an assignment that I have in the VLE, and see this course has a whole bunch of assignments in it. I could link to an assignment, and that's a really easy way to point your students to the assignment or discussion or quiz or survey or whatever. Attach a web link, a Google Drive link, that'll bring up your Google Drive where you can embed your Google Drive right into the activity feed. And then attach from web as well, and that'll pull up a nice big window where you can actually put a URL from YouTube, and then it'll have a nice big display of a YouTube video as well. And then I can schedule that post to go out at a certain time and date, or just post it now. And then from there, I did allow comments, so students can write comments on it. Thanks. And then as a teacher, I can always go in and delete those comments if I need to do any sort of moderating of comments. They can always be deleted. So I'm going to click on this again and just call out the other option in activity feed, which is, you see there's a message, and then there's also assignment. And so if you remember, we also have up on the nav bar, there's the assignments tool here. And these talk to each other. This is the same thing. So building an assignment here is actually kind of like a front end. It's a way to build an assignment really quickly. If say you're in class and you're like, okay, you know what, that thing you guys are working on, I actually want you to hand that in to me. So I just need to really quickly create an assignment container that you can deposit all of your assignments into. And so this is a really quick way to do it right from the home page. But when we do it here, it will show up in the assignments tool when we actually go here. This is just, again, like a little shortcut to building it. Oops, close that. And so if I go down here and I'm going to very creatively call this assignment 3. If I had an existing assignment that I had already built in the assignments tool, I could select an existing one, add some instructions, add a due date, up, time, if I want, add it to the grades tool if you want. So there is a grades tool if you do want to leverage that to be able to do calculations and add grades up, whether they're weighted grades or points-based grades, you have that option. I'm going to stay away from it for now just to keep things simple. And then I've got a couple different options for how they're submitting. So there's a file submission, meaning that my students are making a Word document and they're depositing the Word document or the Excel file or a PowerPoint or a PDF. If I'm looking for a file from my student, I would select File Submission. If I'm looking for a text submission, meaning I just want to provide a text box for my students where they can actually, they don't need to save the file first, they can just type right in the browser their text submission. And so that's really great for like an exit ticket, for an example. If I just wanted to say, hey, tell me what's one question you still have, I could do a text submission, and then the students could go online and submit that text. On paper submission, so if I'm in a physical classroom and I'm collecting it by paper, but I still want to do my grading in the VLE, I can do that, or observed in person. Maybe they're delivering a presentation, or I'm, doing anecdotal notes or something. I can do that. I can choose observed in person. One question that people often ask is, what happens if they're doing a Google Drive submission? So they have their work in Google Drive and they want to submit it to this file submission area. And so we do have different integrations and different levels of integration. And right now in TCDSB, that you would have to create a text submission and the student would paste the link to the Google Drive file. All right, so I'll hit post. And now that created the assignment, and students can actually submit right from there. And so I, as the teacher, I see 0 of 2 submissions. So I have 2 people in this class, 2 demo students in this course, and 0 have submitted to it. And when the student comes here, they'll see, submit, and they'll be able to click on that and upload their assignment. Any questions so far about the activity feed?
No, what has come up though is, let's see here. So I'm just checking the Q&A and let me check the chat here. You caught me. I was multitasking on something.
Sorry, Joe, got you.
Is D2L, let me see here. Whoa. Oh, they've been asking lots of questions. So can you add online tools like Desmos graphing calculator, I believe, or Desmos graphing, for example, in the nav bar?
Yeah, absolutely. If you just want to link to that course or to that tool, you can absolutely add it to the nav bar.
They'd be creating a custom icon, correct?
That's right. Yeah, I didn't get into that because that is a slightly more advanced. But yeah, you can add anything you want on this nav bar. So if you have things that don't yet exist in that big long list of, like we saw, Britannica and Gizmos and Pixton, for example, if you don't see that there, you can create a custom link. You'd have to upload your own little icon if you do want to stick with the icon-based nav bar. Otherwise, it'll be a little world with some blue lines through it. But you can absolutely create a custom link.
Okay, and I know that Francis, another teacher on the session here, they were looking at our assessments bundle icon there, that we have 4 items in there, and he wanted to know if we can remove. So I think, Francis, what you can do is you can create your own icons. You don't have to go, you can remove that assessments icon that comes with or in the default navigation bar, and then you could create your own. I really like the way it looks because under Jessica's experience with dealing and interacting with all the school boards across Ontario, as well as the ministry and companies that are using, organizations that are using the VLE, they all have moved towards a very limited number of icons so that there's less distractions and it's just one row as opposed to moving to a second or third row of icons. It becomes a lot more involved on the page to kind of go there and not get distracted with workflow and where you're finding things. Is that correct, Jess? Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. Our general best practice recommendation is to not have more than 7 links on here. And so the best way, 7 is a very small amount, and so the best way to maximize space is to create these link groups, so you can kind of get more in one. But if you go beyond 7 and you start having, yeah, as Joe said, multiple rows, then it can be a little bit overwhelming for users for sure.
So
So to answer that question a little bit more, can you remove things from this assessment? Yeah, what Joe said is right. You can't. This is a predefined link group of those 4 items, but what you can do is create your own link group, and I'll show you how to do that. It's like I said, a little bit more advanced, but if you go to Course Admin, I took the shortcut to the nav bar modification, which is going here. But if you want kind of the non-shortcut option and all the full options of nav bar, you would go to Course Admin and go into Navigation and Themes here. And then you'd be able to, under this Custom Links tab, you see you'll have the option to create a link group or a custom link group. So right there. So I could create a link group and it'll ask me the name. I can upload an icon and then say, add the links that I want in that group.
and then if you wanted to create a link to Desmos, you would just you'd upload an image if you wanted to, and then just put in the link to the Desmos site.
Absolutely. Yeah, it would be right here, create link, and then I would, write Desmos, the URL, and then upload my icon.
So there's a question regarding compatibility and using Macs. The only concern would be a browser, not and a file type that may exist within a core shell that the ministry has used. But otherwise, compatibility, the platform is device agnostic, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, the only thing I like to call out around Macs is just if you are using Pages, the assignments tool doesn't accept Pages files, so you'd have to ask students to convert it to a PDF before they submitted it. But other than that, yeah, it's really, it's a Chrome browser is really the best option, whether you're on a Mac or a PC.
Yeah, and through Pages, you're able to download the file as docs and PDF, so there's a way around it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So on a side, so what are we working on? We did
the activity feed.
Yeah, we did the activity feed, the nav bar, the home. Did you do the? Did you want to talk about the homepage quickly in terms of the layout? And then sorry, Jess, we've got some questions related to assessment and evaluation, the Grader app, and we can transition to assessment and communication eventually once you're.
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted to go through news really quickly and just kind of show the difference between activity feed and news, and then yeah, we can go on to assessment and evaluation if that works.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So activity feed, as I said, a little bit easier to get started with. It's a very streamlined workflow, super easy to use, obviously. One of the big differences between activity feed and news is the student commenting. So you see right here, students can comment on posts. It's a little bit more of that social media feel, whereas news is a little bit more formal, if you will. Students can't comment on it, and it's the name in of itself kind of gives hints as to what its purpose is. So activity feed is like a feed, a stream of communication, informal communication generally, whereas news is typically more reserved for more formal communications. But again, it's up to you how you use them, but those are kind of 2 options. So activity feed can kind of be your stream and your really quick one-off things you want to say to the students, versus news might be like, attention, this assignment is due on Thursday, or something a little bit more official. It's worth noting as well, if you're the type of person where you've got your course and maybe you've used a ministry course and you've made a whole bunch of modifications to it, or you've even started from scratch and now you're teaching the same course the next year and you're copying all that content over, activity feed posts do not copy over. So you want to keep that in mind. Whereas the news tool, all of your previous news announcements, those will copy over. And so again, that's why I like that use case of activity feed being for informal conversations, or maybe like, hey, I saw this in the news yesterday and it related to our discussion yesterday. You won't need that next year. Whereas, assignment 4 that maybe you're going to give assignment 4 the next year is due on Thursday, that you might want to copy over. So some little differences. And the last big difference is actually a new update that just came out this month or last month for Activity Feed. And I'm pretty sure we should be good. It is updated in your system. So right now, if you click on the Activity Feed on the drop down beside it, there's manage commenting and posting. And you have the ability here to actually enable students or learners to create posts. And so that's giving them the permission then that they can create their own post. So by default, only teachers can, but you can allow students to create posts. And so I'm super curious. This is literally a new update that just came out this month. So I'm really curious if teachers do turn it on and how they use it, and what kind of conversations get generated in the activity feed from allowing students to post to it. So the news tool, as I said, is a little bit different. It's got slightly different functionality. If I click on the drop down and just say new announcement here, you can see that there's a couple more, right? Like it's a little bit of a lot more options to fill out when you're creating a news announcement. At minimum, you need a headline and you need some content. And so I might say assignment 4 due tomorrow. Don't forget. So I have got my announcement here. Assignment 4 is due tomorrow. Don't forget that assignment 4 is due tomorrow. And I can add a replace string in here. Why don't I call it out? Because this is something really important. So I'm going to say first name, close curly bracket. So replace strings do not work in activity feed, but they do in the news tool. So, hey, first name, assignment 4 is due tomorrow. And the other thing I can do here is when I have an announcement, I've got access to the HTML editor. And you'll see this HTML editor all throughout the learning environment. And it's actually got a lot of functionality kind of hidden in it. So these 3 buttons here, you can add pictures. If you click on this insert stuff button, you see I can add YouTube videos here. Go back. There's options down here to integrations with Learn 360 or the OERB. Or the link button, a quick link. So I said, don't forget that assignment 4 is due, but I actually want to link to assignment 4. So I'm going to highlight that, hit the quick link button, go to the assignments, and wherever assignment 4 is, I guess assignment 3. There we go. And now that's a link. Now the student sees that and they'll be able to click on that link and go right to assignment 4. Then there's lots of options down here, like scheduling it to remove at a certain date and time, adding attachments, recording audio, adding a release condition on it. And release conditions, again, is another thing that you see all throughout the learning environment and allows you to create custom learning paths for your students. So you'd be able to, in a nutshell, a release condition is saying, release this item only if the student has done this or X, and that this or X is them, submitting an assignment or completing a quiz, participating in a discussion. So I could say, if I even change this to, hey, first name, assignment 4 is overdue. And then I could put a release condition on it by going to create and attach and say, select, these are all the different conditions we have. And I could say no submission to a folder. And so which folder? Assignment 3 or 4. And so now this announcement will only display to students who have not submitted assignment 3. And I'm saying, hey, Joey, or whatever their first name is, assignment 4 is overdue. And then it gets published right to them and kind of feels like you're talking to them. So I'll hit publish, and you see this little symbol here means that there's a release condition on it. And if I go back to my home page, you'll see the announcement there with the replace string. It's conditionally released, so not every student is going to see it, only the students who have not submitted assignment 3/4. So have a think, through those 2 widgets and see which one makes the most sense for you to use, or use both depending on its functionality.
So just looking back at the slide deck, and here's a reminder. I'm just going to share that I've completed copying over the course, and you'll notice that the the check mark here, the green circle. I thought it was a green check mark, but it's a circle that's green with a white check mark, white filled check mark. So that's it. The content has been imported. Jessica's already linked to it in one of her announcements. So there's a lot going on. I know a lot of you know this, or a lot of you are trying to remember everything. Don't worry, a recording will be available. Going back to our slide deck, just to take inventory of what we've been reviewing thus far, we can jump into discussions, and from there we can transition to assignments and assessments and evaluations, like the assignments folder and annotations. So just very quickly, Jessica, I'm gonna go to this may be a good chance for everyone to sort of pause and review the VLE 101 discussion forums. I think we created some discussion forums, or maybe
Yeah, that's a great idea.
maybe it's another course shell that I created, but let's have a look.
I think they're in there.
There is, right? I think there should
Yeah.
be. By the way, in case you're wondering, this is what it looks like when you go beyond 7 icons. Have a look. A lot of people don't notice this little arrow that opens up other icons or lists other icons, which is, again, a little bit too much information. So we're going to clean that up. That's my fault. So I'm going to enter the discussions area. And folks, this is a tool that separates the VLE, one of the tools that I think separates the VLE from all other tools. A separate space where we can exchange information, visible thinking can take place, and student agency here in terms of voice. It's just a fantastic opportunity. I'm going to pause. Jessica, we're going to invite everyone to pause. And since a lot of you, let's check the class list. A lot of you may be in this course already and you follow the steps. Let's see. I got a green dot here. Maybe George is going to join. The point is we wanted to give everyone a chance to just pause for a minute, step away, go to the bathroom if you have to. But here are the discussion threads and topics, rather. We're hoping that you might want to contribute and share something. So we'll pause. We'll give you about 3-4 minutes, and then we'll jump back online. What do you think?
Sounds great.
Okay. We'll be back in 3-4 minutes. Okay, welcome back, folks. So I took the liberty of participating in the discussions forum, and in particular, just kind of reviewing what we just went through with and reviewed with Jessica. Community building, establishing an online presence, and I'll just highlight what I mentioned so that you can see what a thread looks like. And what I had mentioned was the importance of building a relationship. And that goes for face-to-face or virtual. But the fact of the matter is any kind of personalization that you can set up and put in place within the course, just like what Jessica does when she's creating an announcement, the curly brackets, first name, curly bracket, and so that it picks up who you are, what your name is rather. And the other thing is getting to know your students, surveying them, getting some information, tying back into their interests, what it is that you're sharing as activities, as learning moments, even the resources and materials that you use, the books, how it ties back to their culture, how it ties back to their interests, making it more relevant for them. And the last thing, and I think the most contributing factor to success and building a relationship, has to do with that teacher presence and providing that timely feedback. Okay, that's my 2 cents. But in terms of highlighting or reviewing the discussions tool, the discussion tool is just that. The sky is the limit. You can have specific threads or topics that focus on the individual units, activities. There could also be, I've seen teachers set up a student lounge where kids just lounge around and share information, create threads themselves, or it could be around a particular focus. It could be around a brainstorming session. Really, anything is possible. At the same time, given that we have 30 minutes left, I just want to highlight that you can customize whether it's an anonymous opportunity for people to share information, because you can enable anonymity in people's posts. You can allow people to rate and vote. You can allow people to reply to other people. And again, it doesn't mean that the teacher has to respond to everything. You can build in that community where there's those understood norms of how they relate to one another, how students relate to the teacher, and how the teacher relates to students, and teachers and the student relates to the student and to each other. So really, the sky is the limit. We could spend a full day just on discussions. So I'm just gonna check the chat here and check the Q&A. So Jess, is there anything you want to add in discussion so that we can move along?
Oops, sorry, I think I just shared my screen. I didn't mean to do that. Okay. I just wanted to unmute myself. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of what Joe was saying around discussions. Is I always say don't limit yourself by just the name of the tool and think that it can only be used for that. So discussions, there really are a ton of use cases or ways that you could leverage the discussion tool creatively. And I just wanted to bring up a couple other things that I've seen. Like you can create a discussion area for each individual student and yourself. So a little private discussion area for every student in the class. And I've seen teachers use I've seen teachers use those as like journals, so daily journals that the teacher can review that the students are writing and comment. If the teacher or if the student wants to talk to the teacher just on one-on-one, they could post there. Maybe they're not comfortable approaching the teacher in class. It really is a great place for those students who are often the quieter ones in class. It gives that built-in wait time because they get to sit there and think about what they're answering, and then also have those safe spaces that that teachers can set up as well. Using the discussions tool. The other thing I'll mention, and Joe, you can tell me to be quiet if you want around, because I don't know. You mentioned it yesterday, which is the video note. So I don't know where we're at of getting that deployed. But there is a tool in the VLE that we're hoping to add to TCDSB's site, which is Video Note. And once that's on, there's so many more use cases as well for the discussions tool. And one that I saw recently that I just have to call out because it was amazing was so I'm a former teacher myself, and one of the things that took up a ton of time during class was students giving presentations. And for me as a teacher, I didn't like having to evaluate 5 students in a group all at once while they were giving the presentation, and then also trying to engage the students who are listening to the presentation and facilitate all that. I personally found it very challenging. And so I love the idea of using Video Note for students to record their presentation, upload it to the discussion tool, then the other students can watch it, watch the presentation, and then I can watch it several times and individually evaluate each student on my own time, and not have to worry about getting it all done in those 4 minutes when the student is presenting.
Cool. That's pretty awesome. The individual spaces so that it's only between teacher and student. The video note, I'm a big fan of. We're looking at furthering talks around opening that up as a service. So Jess, given the 24 minutes we have, we're going to do a couple of things here. Number one, I want to give people a sense of how easy it is to edit the content. And then we can transition to the assessment and evaluation. And then I think we've pretty much covered everything. We can highlight the emails and stuff like that pretty quickly. But folks, really, I don't want to edit the VLE 101. What I want to do is I'm going to edit the other course that we were in, which is the Sandbox course. Here it is. So this would be a course where I've already imported content, and I just want to quickly show you how to edit content. So I'm going to select content. And by the way, just because you've imported content, you're not committed to actually using it. Really, all you have to do is select a unit, and you'll notice right up here, there is a button that you can just toggle from visible to hidden, and now students can't see any one of those pages. Okay? If you wanted to create your own unit, just select new unit. And if you want to call it My Stuff, then call it My Stuff. Okay, where did it go? I guess I didn't name it. Let's name it again. I put it in the wrong field. So My Stuff. And so that's pretty much it. And then all you have to do if you want to add stuff to it, like existing PDFs, Word documents, pull in stuff from your Google Drive or any other site and service, just hit add, and there you go. You're going to have links to everything. You're going to have links to a new lesson that's tied back into the expectations of the curriculum. We didn't cover that. We can cover that on a separate PD opportunity. Connect to your Google Drive, Office 365. The sky's the limit here. You want to pull from your computer, just hit browse. That's really how easy it is to build content and work with what you already have, okay? But going back to ministry content, how easy is it to edit? If you know how to create an announcement at this point, you know how to edit content. Watch. So here is Unit 3. And any one of these you can select, but I'll select this page here. And eventually, come on. No? Okay, I'll select that one there. It doesn't matter. So this is a bit dated, but either way, they're HTML pages. So all I'm going to do is select Options, Edit. And what you'll notice is the same editor pops up that Jessica was talking about before. The only difference is that the insert stuff, the photo or camera, and the quick links moves from the first 3 buttons to the second 3 buttons, if that makes sense. And here's the text. So if you don't like this text here, then get rid of it. If you want to type in your own information, I know you really can't see it because the color of the font is not the greatest, but I'll demonstrate it up here in the title. Watch. I don't like this title. Get rid of the title. Or if I wanted to hyperlink the title to something, just select it, and you can go into quick links and connect it back to any other page within the course, or if you have an external link, you can click on URL. Folks, it's very, very intuitive, very, very simple. And that's really the extent to which you could use the ministry content, edit it, or create your own. It's very, very easy, okay? So what we're gonna do now is we'll transition to assessments. So Jess, what I'll do is, Jessica, sorry, let's be formal here. Jessica, what I'm going to do is I will have the fun part in terms of just the basics of the current tools, and then maybe you can talk about the annotation tool, okay?
Are you sure? Yeah, I know you love demoing the annotation tool.
I know, but I don't think I'm going to connect my iPad. If you see my station here with all the devices, it might frighten you.
All right.
So folks, your course, you'll notice when you import content, you'll notice that there's these preset or pre-set up folders. Cool, right? Well, you don't have to use them all, but they do correspond to activities and assignments in the content. So you have to look at the content, look at the assignments, decide which ones you want to keep, which ones you want to edit, which ones you want to delete. But if you wanted to use this existing folder, I'm going to suggest, again, depending on the course, depending on your, the type of activity, but you can enable Turnitin. I'm going to do that first because it's really easy. So I'm going to select the arrow here next to the title of the folder, and then I'm going to edit the assignment folder. And whether you're creating a new assignment folder or you're editing an existing one, all you have to do is find, once you're editing, just find originality check, enable for this folder, and then you select it. That's it. That's all you have to do, okay? So what happens there is that as soon as you enable the originality, when a file is uploaded, you see within a few minutes a scan of the document, and then a report is created. I can show you quickly the report, what it looks like. So I'll go into assignment 1. And for example, here is an example of enabling Turnitin and a report that came back. So I'm going to select it. I agree. Not sure what happened here. Here we go. You don't always get that window asking you to agree, maybe just the first time. So, welcome. Okay, you're competing with the annotations tools, aren't you? Okay, here we go. So what you have here are 2 sets of tools. You have the blue tools that you can basically edit and provide feedback, and then the red tools allow you to identify where the challenge around originality exists. So if you select the 29 here, you'll notice that there's 2 sources for which the information has come from. Now, just so you know, the document that we're reviewing is a consent form that was generated by the Toronto Public Library. So it's a great example to identify that there is information that can be tracked to the internet that is just general information. So I just wanted to quickly provide that overview of Turnitin, and I wanted to mention this because it's not meant to be punitive. It's meant to be an opportunity to remind students that originality check is in place and that they should be mindful to be very original in their work. And then once they submit, if there are concerns, that's when you engage in conversation, not, hey, I caught you. That's not the way it works. The way it works is you have that conversation and then you go from there, okay? The other thing, before we move on to the new exciting annotation tools that D2L has released, when you're providing feedback, And Jess, maybe you might want to start loading up your documents so the annotation tools kick in. But when you're providing feedback, you have this window on the right-hand side of your document. And you'll notice that you can attach a rubric, and you can use the rubrics tool within the VLE, which has been just recently updated, and it's pretty awesome. And literally, you can spend some time creating the rubric, personalizing it to each of the assignments and activities, just to provide more of that in-depth, upfront expectation around what is expected and what was worked out between teacher and students around what's expected with this assignment or evaluation, okay? You can also score it. You can go in to the rubrics tool and very quickly just, it looks like a separate window opens up that you're not going to see. It looks like a rubric and a whole bunch of bullet points so that you can just select and you automatically then identify where in the rubric you've awarded the marks. I'm going to cancel that because you can't see that. And you also have the editor. Notice, folks, like Jessica mentioned, if you can create an announcement, if you can produce announcements or modify your content, then you're able to provide feedback because the editor is the same. 3 buttons, 1, 2, and 3. You can insert a video, you can insert an external link, you can insert pretty much anything that, like on a news post or announcement. You can attach something here as well. Let's say that part of your workflow is to create a PDF summary of your feedback. You can save it on your computer and then attach it as a file. The other thing is you can actually record audio. So there's an audio button right next to the add a file, and you can record, I believe, up to 3 minutes. Now just think about it for a minute. We may not always be clear, or students may not always interpret our text feedback as what we intend. So listening to your voice, the tone of your voice, the pace, would really provide a lot more information than just, hey, good work, keep up, focus on look at rewriting paragraph 3, especially sentence 2, whatever it is the feedback is. But listening to your voice might not just help the student understand better, quicker, but just put them at ease as well, right? So Jess, I think I'm going to stop there. If you want to show everyone the annotations tool so that there's other options when it comes to providing that feedback directly onto the document.
Sure. All right, just let me know if I'm screen sharing okay. You can see the PLVLE sandbox?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, so one thing before I jump into that, I do want to call out really quickly. Let me jump over here. I've taken the longer way to the assignments tool. So if you remember, I demoed the activity feed where you can create an assignment right off the hop. If I go to the assignments tool here, this will take me to this page, which students can see as well. I could click on new assignment and you'll see I've got a lot more options than what I have in the activity feed, because again, activity feed is just a really quick shortcut way of creating an assignment. If I want the full functionality of the assignments tool, I want to come here and create it. And so I would come here and you give it a name, put some instructions. This is, again, if you're building an assignment from scratch, not using one of the ones that was built into the ministry course that you might have imported. And I just want to call out really quickly a couple features in here that you didn't see in the activity feed. And so Joe called out the originality checker, the ability to add a rubric, which I guess you won't see this pop up, if you can't see select rubric.
No, I can see it.
Oh, beautiful. And so then you can see the rubric preview here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, great. So I could add this is a rubric that I just quickly whipped up, and then I can select by level as I'm grading it, which looks really nice. And then under restrictions, I just want to call out 2 things. So right here, I can, by default, if you build an assignment, it's going to be hidden from users. So I can uncheck that to hide it, or to unhide it rather. And then I can put a due date on it. And there's those release conditions as well. So when you're after you've built your assignment, when you're grading it, so here, let's say the student submitted a Word doc, and I'm ready to put to assess it. I've got these annotation tools here, and these came out just in March actually, and we've been slowly adding functionality to the annotations tool each month. And so that's the way our product works, is we release updates to it monthly, and the annotations tool really is a brand new tool to the D2L platform, and we're super excited about it and continuing to add updates. So right here, you've got things like adding a pen that you can circle things. I really like this note tool, which I can add like a little insert if I want, or different symbols here. And these symbols are really great because you can kind of develop a bit of a legend or a system that you use for different symbols here, like new paragraph is a useful one. Oops, there we go. And I can add a note here. Right? And then when I click off of it, it disappears, and the student, that'll be interactive. When the student sees it, they'll be able to roll over it and those notes will pop up. Right? There's also text boxes that I can add and change the font and the color, all sorts of different options for annotating on the document. You'll notice that at the end of this month, actually, we're just coming out with 2 new options based on feedback that we got from clients. The first one was that people wanted to be able to put this entire area in full screen so that they just have a bigger area to work with. And so that's an update that you'll see at the end of the month, is you'll see a new option to be able to toggle this to full screen. And also we're adding the functionality to be able to change the orientation of the page. So if the student uploaded something and they uploaded it sideways, the teacher would be able to change the orientation. So take a look for those 2 new updates. Your system will, actually, we're the 23rd today, so it's probably getting updated in the next couple of days, and you'll see those 2 options appear. I will note that you can download this, and then it downloads into an interactive PDF. So all of the annotations come with it, and the student could download it with the annotations as well. The last thing I'll point out is over here. If I was going to grade with the rubric, I could pop that open and select my options here and hit save and record. And then this one was out of 100, so it automatically converts the rubric score to the score here. I can choose to use that or not when I'm setting up the assignment. And then I can add some feedback here as well, as Joe mentioned. And the last thing I wanted to call out, actually, while we're here, because there was that question around the equation editor, I did want to mention that the HTML editor, so in the many different places that you find this, does have a couple different equation editors built in as well. So if you are, a math and science teacher and those might be useful, check those out. There's a couple different tools there to be able to display graphical and math equations. And that's it. That's all I really had to show you for annotations.
Cool. So we've got some questions that we want to get to. The question here, let me just stop sharing. And that way, there you go. You can meet me while I'm looking at my chat here. So we've got a question here from Leslie. In terms of release conditions, is there an option so that students cannot either participate in discussions or submit an assignment until they have read specific content? Jess, I'm going to defer that to you. I haven't used the release conditions that much.
Yeah, can you say that the last sentence again?
Sure. So in terms of release conditions, is there an option so that students cannot either participate in discussions or submit an assignment until they have read specific content?
So the release conditions, so they can't, so that's a bit of a backwards one that of how it actually works. So you'd be able to, you put the release condition on the thing that you don't want to release until they've done something. So you could go to the discussion, put a release condition on it and say, don't release this discussion until they've read this piece of content. And then you would put another release condition on the announcement and say, don't release this announcement until they've read this piece of content. You won't get the either or piece though. You would actually do it, I'm trying to think if there's a way to do it the other way, because it would have to be, in that case, it's and, right? The release conditions does have an and or functionality, but the and or applies to the thing, the conditions, the things that they have to do to release the thing, if that makes sense. So you can't do it the opposite way, which is what you're describing. Say, they can do release either one of these things if they've done this. It's the opposite way. So release this piece of content if they've participated in the discussion or submitted to the assignment. That you could do, because you could put two release conditions on that content saying, don't release it unless they've submitted this assignment or they've participated in this discussion.
Okay, thank you. So we had a comment about the D2L Grader app. Any kind of update coming to it?
They're making some decisions right now around the assignment grader app. Not in the next 90 days is really the safest answer I can give you right now. They're kind of making some big decisions around the assignment grader app, and there won't be anything major happening to it in the next 90 days.
Okay. The other question from Karina is the calculation of the final mark correlated to KICA, or knowledge and inquiry, communication application. So that, that has a little bit of a layer to it in that, if I can just describe my own experience, when you're creating a rubric, you can build those details into the rubric. What would qualify as knowledge, communication, and so on and so forth. And you can also include those details within the content where you're transitioning from the content to the activity or the assignment. So teachers can infuse all of their customizations within the course. They don't have to follow what the ministry has laid out. And when you're uploading a rubric or some kind of breakdown of what would make up the grade for that activity or test or quiz, you can customize that yourself. So there's really no perfect answer to that, because it would be sort of restricting teachers when it comes to assessing and evaluating. So you would be able to pretty much, with every single activity or assignment, you can customize what KICA looks like for each of those entries. Velia, when editing, creating an assignment, how do you add the features that are more than just text when editing or creating an assignment? I don't follow you here. Hold on. When creating or editing an assignment, how do you add the features that are more than just text? If you're talking about the annotation tools, are you referring to the annotation tools, Velia? Just going to pause here for a sec. Maybe if you can give me a little bit more background, Velia, around the editing and creating. I'll come back to that question, okay? Yeah, Francis, the erasing when you're annotating, what I find is you have to move away from the pencil or highlighter option, click away, and then eventually go back to the spot or the markings or the annotations that you want to delete. Click on those, and then you'll notice that a bar shows up with a trash can for you to delete whatever you selected to be erased. Okay. When creating or editing an assignment, how do you add features? Oh, so it's the annotation. I was creating a new assignment right now. A new assignment as in from the activity feed, or a new assignment folder. Because if you're creating a new assignment through the activity feed, or if you're creating a new assignment folder, that comes with all of the different options around release conditions, around originality check, all those different options. I don't know offhand. They're right in front of you when you're creating the assignment or the assignment folder. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jess, but when you're creating an assignment from the activity feed, you're creating an assignment, not an assignment folder.
No, it's the exact same thing.
Okay.
Both of them, they're one and the same.
Because I'm thinking organization, right? Because if you created multiple assignments, could you put them in an assignments folder that belongs to unit 1, unit 2, right?
Oh, so
Anyhow,
you're thinking of, yeah, categories maybe. So you can
yeah.
organize your assignments into categories,
Okay.
and you'd have to go the long way to the assignments tool to add it to a category. But you could always go back and change it later if you created an activity feed and then move it to one of the categories.
So Maria has a question. I've been using 2 of the ministry math courses this year and found them to be great. But some links are outdated and sometimes there are typos. So great question or great comment. If there is a breakdown in terms of any of the links, content, so on and so forth, you can supplement them right away. If you have other, links and resources, you can follow up with myself, and I'll try to connect back to the ministry folks that support content, and we can try to troubleshoot that way. But you bring up a good point in that before you release any content, you want to go through it, right? You want to make sure that it's relevant to your kids. You want to make sure that anything that you think is not relevant, you can remove and edit and add your own creative flair and your own teaching style to things. So definitely have a look at the content before you publish. Okay. Marcel, is there a way to remove old courses so that it is easier to navigate? So if you've been teaching a while with a timetable, then you're going to have a whole bunch of courses. All I can suggest at this point is that year over year, you search with the semester codes. They're standard across the province. So come September, you would search with 1920. And then as soon as you select, or as soon as you search using 1920, you're going to see the 6 courses that you're teaching that year. Just pin them up. Okay. Elementary, working on a solution that will give you at least 1 course shell ready to go by September. Sometimes we're delayed based on staffing, balancing sections and classrooms. And it doesn't allow us the opportunity to create course shells through automation until mid-October or sometimes even November, which keeps you held back in terms of starting your online space with your kids. So I think that's it. Pretty engaging group. I think we had between 20 and 30 teachers participate. I think we covered everything in terms of Q&A and chat questions.
Can I put a plug in for my Twitter handle?
Yeah, of course. Definitely.
Awesome.
And it's linked on the slide deck as well.
Oh, good. All right. I was going to put it in the chat.
Yeah, do that.
So on my Twitter handle, I often publish updates to, like, whenever we have a really big update coming up, I'll publish a little video on how to use it or just information about it. So please feel free to follow me. And it's also a really good way to contact me if you ever have a question or you want to tweet me to show me, some cool ways they're using the VLE. I do work with multiple school boards across the province. So all of these use cases that I'm sharing with you, they come from talking with teachers. So I really do love being tagged on Twitter with ways that you're using it. So please don't hesitate to do that.
And just a friendly reminder, if you are in the VLE 101 course and you head back to the homepage and scroll to the first entry on the activity feed, there is a survey. We'll be looking at responses, and then we'll be looking at sending out certificates to acknowledge your participation and recognize your participation. Throughout the summer, we'd like to continue the professional learning opportunities virtually. So if you are interested, I will send emails out to all staff and not just confined to those staff that are teaching an online course this summer. So please look for those and don't hesitate to reach out. D2L offers online support either through email, telephone, or instant messaging. You would contact them if there's something going on with your device. The browser is just not recognizing content. Things are just not opening up properly. And it could be something related to your device. If there's login issues, content issues, you can always follow up with me at joe.russo@tcdsb.org. So we're mindful of time. We wish you all a great evening. Thanks for joining us. It's 5:04. We're going to sign off. Thank you again, Jessica, for all your support. If you want to stay on, I will definitely stop the broadcast, but we can stay on and chat.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Bye for now.